She never thought a single night could destroy everything. One moment of weakness. One stranger. One decision that would unravel her entire life and lead her halfway across the world to the last person she ever expected to see again. But here's the thing about secrets. They always find you. And when they do, they bring consequences you never saw coming. If you're ready for a story about forbidden love, dangerous secrets, and a mafia king who doesn't take no for an answer, then stay with me because this one will leave you speechless. Hit that subscribe button right now because you won't want to miss what happens next. Naomi's hands trembled as she stared at the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not like this. Her bachelorette party was in 3 weeks. The wedding invitations had already been sent. Her entire family was flying in from across the country. She sat on the cold bathroom floor of her Los Angeles apartment, her phone buzzing with messages from her fiancé Marcus about seating arrangements and cake flavors. Each notification felt like a knife twisting deeper into her chest. 6 weeks ago, she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. The rehearsal dinner had gone badly. Marcus's mother had made another comment about Naomi's career as a teacher, suggesting she should quit once they were married to focus on being a proper wife. Marcus had said nothing. He never did. That night, drowning in champagne and frustration at an upscale bar in downtown LA, she'd met him. The stranger. Tall, devastatingly handsome, with sharp features and eyes so dark they seemed to see straight through her. His accent was subtle but unmistakable, Korean, polished by years of international business. "You look like someone trying to forget something," he'd said, sliding into the seat beside her. "What makes you think that?" she'd asked, not looking at him. "Because I am too." There was something magnetic about him. Dangerous. The way he carried himself, the expensive watch, the slight bulge under his jacket that suggested he wasn't just any businessman. But that night, Naomi hadn't cared about red flags. She'd cared about feeling alive for the first time in months. They'd talked for hours. He never gave his full name, just Jihyun. She never mentioned Marcus or the wedding. It was like existing in a bubble where consequences didn't exist. The chemistry between them had been undeniable. Electric. When his hand brushed hers reaching for his drink, the air shifted. When he leaned in close, his voice dropping low, her breath caught. "Come with me," he'd whispered. She should have said no. Should have gone home. Should have remembered the life waiting for her. Instead, she'd followed him to his hotel. The penthouse suite. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city. And for one night, she'd let herself forget everything. His touch had been confident, commanding. The way he'd looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. His lips on her neck, her collarbone, traveling lower. The way he'd whispered in Korean, words she didn't understand but felt in her bones. When morning came, he was gone. No note. No number. Just the memory of the most intense night of her life and the faint smell of his cologne on the pillow. Now, 6 weeks later, she was pregnant with a stranger's baby. The next 2 weeks were a nightmare. She tried to hide it, tried to pretend everything was fine. But Marcus noticed she wasn't drinking at dinner. Noticed she looked pale. His mother insisted she see a doctor. The truth came out in the worst possible way. Marcus's family doctor, a family friend, casually mentioned during a pre-wedding checkup that she was pregnant. Marcus had been in the room. So had his mother. "Well, this is wonderful news," his mother had said, her voice tight. "A bit earlier than planned, but when exactly did this happen?" Marcus interrupted, his face pale. "We haven't. Not in almost 3 months." The silence that followed was deafening. Naomi tried to explain. Tried to apologize. But Marcus's mother was already on her phone, calling Naomi's parents, calling the wedding planner, calling everyone who mattered in their social circle. Within 24 hours, the wedding was canceled. Marcus's family demanded she leave their son alone. And her own family, traditional, image-obsessed, deeply religious, made their position clear. "You've embarrassed us," her father said, his voice cold. "If you choose to keep this bastard child, you do it without our name and without our support." Her mother wouldn't even look at her. Just like that, Naomi lost everything. Her fiancé. Her family. Her reputation. Her home. Since she'd been living in Marcus's apartment, she found herself on her best friend Hannah's couch, sobbing into a bowl of ice cream, her entire life in 2 suitcases. "Come to Seoul with me," Hannah said on the 3rd day of Naomi's breakdown. "I'm moving back next month for work. Fresh start. No one knows you there. You can have the baby, figure things out, away from all this judgment." "I don't speak Korean," Naomi said weakly. "You'll learn. And Seoul has amazing international schools. You're a certified teacher, you'll find work easily. Plus, my family has connections." It sounded insane. Moving to another country, pregnant and alone, to escape the ruins of her life. But what was the alternative? Staying in LA where everyone knew her shame? Crawling back to her parents who'd made it clear she was dead to them? 3 weeks later, Naomi boarded a plane to Seoul, South Korea. 13 hours in the air to outrun her past. She pressed her hand to her still flat stomach and made a silent promise. Whatever happened next, she'd protect this child. She'd build a new life. She'd be enough. She had no idea the father of her baby was already there, waiting. 13 months later, Naomi barely recognized herself. She'd survived pregnancy alone in a foreign country, learned enough Korean to get by, given birth to the most beautiful baby boy she'd ever seen, and somehow landed a job teaching English at one of Seoul's most prestigious international schools. Kai was 1 year old now, with the chubbiest cheeks, the brightest smile, and his father's dark hair and striking features. Every time she looked at him, she thought of that night. The stranger who'd given her both her greatest mistake and her greatest gift. Seoul had been good to them. Hannah's family had helped her find an apartment. The international community was welcoming. She'd even made friends with other expat teachers. Life wasn't perfect, but it was hers. The morning everything changed started like any other. Naomi dropped Kai off at daycare, grabbed her coffee, and headed to Hanseong International School where she taught kindergarten. Her classroom was bright and colorful, filled with the artwork and chaos of 5-year-olds. "Good morning, everyone," she called as her students filed in. Most of her kids were from wealthy families, diplomats, corporate executives, old-money Korean families. But her favorite was Mina Kim, a quiet 5-year-old girl with sad eyes and beautiful manners. Mina rarely smiled and always sat alone during playtime. "Good morning, Ms. Williams," Mina said softly, placing a drawing on Naomi's desk. It was a picture of a little girl holding hands with a woman who looked suspiciously like Naomi. "This is beautiful, Mina," Naomi said warmly. "Is this you and me?" Mina nodded. "You're nice. You don't yell." Naomi's heart broke a little. She'd tried to reach Mina's father for weeks, parent-teacher conferences, progress reports, but he never responded. Only his assistant ever called back, always with excuses. Mr. Kim was busy. Mr. Kim was traveling. Mr. Kim sent his apologies. That afternoon, Naomi's principal stopped by her classroom. "Ms. Williams, I need you to stay late today. We finally got Mr. Kim to agree to a parent conference. He'll be here at 6. Finally. Naomi had concerns about Mina, not academic. The girl was brilliant, but social. She needed support, attention, love. At 6 p.m. sharp, Naomi sat in her classroom, Mina's file open on her desk. She heard footsteps in the hallway. Expensive shoes on tile. The door opened, and her entire world stopped. The man who walked through her classroom door was impossible to forget. Tall, commanding presence, sharp jawline, those same dark eyes that had haunted her dreams for over a year. He wore an immaculate black suit that probably cost more than her monthly salary, and he moved with the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. Ji-hun stopped mid-step when he saw her. His eyes widened for a fraction of a second before his expression became carefully neutral. But she saw it. The recognition. The shock. "Ms. Williams," he said, his voice exactly as she remembered it. Deep. Controlled. With that subtle accent that made her skin tingle. Naomi couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. This was impossible. Seoul had over 9 million people. What were the odds? "Mr. Kim," she managed, her voice barely steady. "Please sit down." He closed the door behind him and moved to the small chair across from her desk. It looked ridiculous, this dangerous, powerful man folding himself into a kindergarten-sized seat. Under any other circumstance, it might have been funny. "You're Mina's teacher," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes. For the past 3 months. And you're in Seoul." "Obviously." The silence stretched between them, thick with everything unsaid. That night in LA. The hotel room. The way he'd disappeared without a word. The baby he knew nothing about sleeping peacefully in daycare 3 blocks away. "We should discuss Mina," Naomi said, forcing herself into professional mode. She opened the file with shaking hands. "She's academically advanced. Reading above her age level, excellent with numbers. But I'm concerned about her social development. She doesn't interact with the other children. She sits alone during free play. She flinches when anyone raises their voice." Ji-hun's jaw tightened. Mina's been through a lot. Her mother died 2 years ago. "I'm sorry," Naomi said softly, and meant it. That explained so much about the sad little girl in her classroom. She doesn't need friends. She needs to be strong. She's 5 years old. She needs to be a child. His eyes flashed with something annoyance. "Respect? You don't understand my world, Ms. Williams. Then help me understand. Because right now, I have a student who draws pictures of being alone, who apologizes for everything, who looks like she's carrying the weight of the world on tiny shoulders." Ji-hun stood abruptly, moving to the window. His broad shoulders were tense beneath the expensive fabric. Mina's world is complicated. Dangerous. The less she trusts people, the safer she is. That's a terrible way for a child to live. He turned to face her, and the intensity in his gaze made her breath catch. "You have no idea what it takes to keep her safe." "What I do? Who I am?" "You're right. I don't. Because you disappeared without a word 13 months ago. There it was. Out in the open." Ji-hun moved closer, stopping just on the other side of her desk. "I had business to handle. I couldn't stay. And you were wearing an engagement ring that night. Or did you forget?" Naomi felt her cheeks burn. "I didn't forget. So we both had our secrets. I'm not engaged anymore." Something shifted in his expression. "Why?" She shouldn't tell him. This conversation was already way beyond appropriate. But the words came out anyway. Because that night had consequences. Ji-hun went very still. His eyes searched her face, and she watched as understanding dawned. His voice dropped dangerously low. "What kind of consequences?" Before Naomi could answer, her phone buzzed. A message from Kai's daycare. She glanced at it automatically, and Ji-hun's eyes caught on her lock screen, a photo of her holding Kai, his chubby 1-year-old face beaming at the camera. Ji-hun moved so fast she barely saw it. He grabbed her phone from her hand, staring at the image. "How old is he?" His voice was deadly quiet. "Mr. Kim, give me my phone." "How old?" "1 year. He just turned 1. Ji-hun's hand tightened around the phone. She watched the calculation happen in his eyes. 1 year old. 13 months since that night. The timing was impossible to deny. He's mine. Not a question. A statement of absolute certainty. Naomi stood, reaching for her phone. "You need to leave. Answer me. Is that my son? This is inappropriate. This is my workplace. You need to go." Ji-hun set the phone down carefully, but didn't move away. "You kept my son from me. I didn't know who you were. You didn't give me your last name. You disappeared. I had no way to find you. You didn't try. I tried everything. But what was I supposed to do? Search all of Seoul for a man named Ji-hun? Do you know how common that name is? You should have tried harder." His voice was cold now, controlled fury barely contained. "I was alone and pregnant in a foreign country. I was surviving. I'm sorry if that wasn't enough for you." They stood on opposite sides of her desk, tension crackling between them like electricity. Naomi's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst from her chest. "I want to meet him," Ji-hun said. "Absolutely not. He's my son. You don't know that for sure." Ji-hun pulled out his phone and made a call, speaking rapid Korean. Within minutes, someone appeared at the classroom door, a man in a dark suit who looked like he'd stepped out of an action movie. "DNA test," Ji-hun said to Naomi. "We'll do it properly. But I already know the truth." That boy has my eyes. My mother's nose. He's a Kwon. A what? Kwon. My full name is Kwon Ji-hun. And if that child is mine, he's the heir to everything I've built. The way he said it, like it was a threat and a promise combined, sent chills down Naomi's spine. What exactly have you built? Ji-hun's smile was sharp. Nothing you want your son involved in. But it's too late now, Ms. Williams. He's already involved. He was involved the moment you conceived him. Are you threatening me? I'm stating facts. You brought my son into this world. Into my city. Whether you knew it or not, you made him a target. Naomi felt sick. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that I have enemies. Dangerous people who would love nothing more than to hurt me by hurting the people I care about. And now there's a 1-year-old boy out there with my blood in his veins, completely unprotected. He's not unprotected. He has me. Ji-hun's laugh was bitter. You? What are you going to do against men with guns? Against families who've been in this business for generations? You're a kindergarten teacher, Naomi. You can't protect him from what's coming. The use of her first name, after all this formality, made something in her chest tighten. Then what do you suggest? Let me into his life. Let me protect both of you. Because like it or not, you're connected to me now. And in my world, that means you need protection whether you want it or not. I don't even know what your world is. Ji-hun leaned forward, his hands flat on her desk, bringing his face close to hers. I run things in Seoul. Things that operate in shadows. I have people who answer to me, territories under my control, and more money than you can imagine. I'm what some people call a king. Others call me a monster. But what I am, definitively, is your son's father. And I don't abandon my blood. Naomi's mind was reeling. Mafia. He was basically admitting he was in the Korean Mafia. The father of her child was a criminal. A dangerous one. I need time to think, she whispered. You have until tomorrow. Then I'm meeting my son with or without your permission. I'd prefer with Naomi. For all our sakes. He straightened, pulled a business card from his pocket, and placed it on her desk. My private number. Call me when you're ready to be reasonable. Then he was gone, leaving only the faint scent of his cologne and the sound of her racing heart. Naomi sank into her chair, staring at the business card. Kwon Ji-hun, CEO, KH Enterprises. It looked legitimate, corporate. But she knew now it was just a front. Her phone buzzed again. The daycare reminding her to pick up Kai. Her son. Their son. She thought about Mina, that sad little girl who'd lost her mother and been raised by a man who thought teaching her not to trust people was keeping her safe. Was that what Ji-hun would do to Kai? Turn him into something cold and hard? But then she remembered the fear in Ji-hun's voice when he'd talked about enemies. About targets. What if he was right? What if just by existing in Seoul, just by being Ji-hun's son, Kai was already in danger? If you're hooked on this story, drop a comment below telling me what you think Naomi should do. Should she let Ji-hun into Kai's life? And don't forget to like this video. Naomi didn't sleep that night. She lay in her small apartment, Kai sleeping peacefully in his crib beside her bed, while her mind ran through every possible scenario. Every fear. Every what if. By morning, she'd made a decision. She called the number on the card. Ji-hun answered on the first ring. I was wondering if you'd make me wait. We need to talk. Properly. Not at my school. Name the place. There's a park near Hanamdong. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. I'll bring Kai. The silence on the other end stretched long enough that she thought he might have hung up. Then, quietly, thank you. The next afternoon, Naomi pushed Kai's stroller through the park, her stomach in knots. She dressed Kai in his best outfit, a tiny navy sweater and jeans that made him look impossibly adorable. He babbled happily, pointing at birds and dogs, completely unaware that his entire world was about to change. She saw Ji-hun before he saw her. He stood beneath a large oak tree, hands in his pockets, looking simultaneously out of place and completely in control. He wasn't alone. 2 men in dark suits stood at a discreet distance, clearly security. When Ji-hun spotted them, his entire body went rigid. She watched as his eyes locked onto Kai, and something in his expression cracked. The cold, controlled mask slipped, revealing something raw underneath. She stopped the stroller a few feet away. Jihun, this is Kai. Kai, this is... She hesitated. What was she supposed to say? This is your father? This is the stranger who got mommy pregnant? Jihun knelt down, bringing himself to Kai's eye level. Her son looked at him with curious dark eyes, eyes that were unmistakably Jihun's. Hello, Kai, Jihun said softly in English, then repeated it in Korean. Kai tilted his head, studying this new person with the serious expression he got when encountering something unfamiliar. Then, inexplicably, he smiled and reached out his chubby hand. Naomi watched, her heart in her throat, as Jihun carefully took Kai's tiny hand in his much larger one. The contrast was striking, this dangerous man being so impossibly gentle with a 1-year-old. He has your mother's nose, Jihun said quietly, and Naomi realized he was talking to her. And your smile. But everything else. He touched Kai's dark hair carefully. He's a Kwan. We should do that DNA test you mentioned, Naomi said, trying to keep her voice steady. Before we make any decisions. I don't need a test. But if it makes you feel better, we'll do it. Jihun stood, pulling out his phone. Within minutes, a woman in medical scrubs appeared. Apparently she'd been waiting nearby. She was efficient and kind, taking a cheek swab from both Kai and Jihun while Naomi held her son. Results in 24 hours, the woman said before disappearing. Jihun looked at Naomi. Walk with me. They fell into step together, Naomi pushing the stroller while Jihun walked beside her, his security maintaining their distance. For a few minutes, neither spoke. Kai provided a running commentary in his babbling baby language, pointing at everything that caught his attention. He's very alert, Jihun observed. Curious. He gets into everything. Last week he figured out how to open the cabinet locks. I found him in the kitchen surrounded by pots and pans, looking incredibly proud of himself. Jihun's lips twitched in what might have been the start of a smile. Mina was the same way. Too smart for her own good. How is she? Really? The almost smile faded. Lost. She was 3 when her mother died. Car accident. Wrong place, wrong time. She hasn't been the same since. I'm sorry, Naomi said, and meant it. It must be hard, raising her alone. I'm not doing a very good job of it, Jihun admitted, his voice rough. I don't know how to be soft. How to be what she needs. I know how to keep her safe, but that's not the same thing, is it? No, it's not. They reached a bench overlooking a small pond, and Naomi sat down, lifting Kai out of the stroller. He immediately tried to climb down, wanting to explore. Jihun sat beside her, and together they watched their son toddle unsteadily toward a group of ducks, Naomi hovering close behind. I want to be in his life, Jihun said. Properly. Not just visits and phone calls. I want him to know me. To know his sister. Your world is dangerous. You said so yourself. Which is exactly why he needs my protection. Naomi, whether I'm in his life or not, if the wrong people find out he exists, he's in danger. At least if he's with me, I can keep him safe. Safe like Mina? That scared little girl who doesn't know how to trust anyone. Jihun's jaw tightened. That's not fair. Isn't it? You just admitted you're failing her. Why would I let you do the same to Kai? He turned to face her fully, and the intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. Because you don't have a choice. I'm his father. And now that I know he exists, I'm not walking away. I couldn't even if I wanted to. So, what are you suggesting? Joint custody? Weekends at the Mafia boss's mansion. I'm suggesting we figure this out together. For both of them. Mina needs what you can give her: warmth, patience, someone who knows how to love without conditions. And Kai needs protection that only I can provide. This is insane. This is our reality. Jihun reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and took her hand. His touch sent electricity through her, unwanted and undeniable. I never forgot you. That night in LA. I've thought about it more times than I should admit. Naomi's heart was pounding. You left without a word. I had to. The business I was handling, if I'd stayed, I would have put you in danger. The engagement ring on your finger gave me an excuse to do the right thing and walk away. I'm not sure abandoning someone counts as doing the right thing. Maybe not. But I'm here now. And I'm not going anywhere. Kai chose that moment to fall, landing on his bottom with a surprised expression. Before Naomi could move, Jihun was up, scooping their son into his arms with surprising ease. He murmured, "You're okay." Kai's lip trembled for a moment, then he grabbed Jihun's expensive tie and yanked hard, completely distracted from his fall. Jihun's expression was priceless, shock mixed with reluctant amusement as his tie came undone. "He's strong," Jihun said, gently extricating his tie from Kai's grip. "He gets that from you," Naomi said without thinking. Their eyes met, and the air between them shifted. That same chemistry from LA, the pull that had led to Kai in the first place, was still there. Stronger, maybe, complicated by everything between them now. Jihun's phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression darkening. "I have to go. Business." "Of course." He handed Kai back to her carefully, and their hands touched in the transfer. He didn't let go immediately. "Have dinner with me tomorrow night. You, me, Kai, and Mina. Let them meet. Let's see if we can make this work." "Jihun, please." That single word, raw and honest, broke through her defenses. "Okay, dinner. But somewhere public. My home. It's safer." "That's not public." "Naomi, if we're going to do this, you need to understand something. Public means vulnerable. Public means risk. My home is a fortress. Your son, our son, will be safest there." She wanted to argue, but the logic was sound. If even half of what he said about his world was true, being seen together in public could paint a target on all of them. "Fine. You're home. But I'm telling my friend Hannah where I'll be. And if anything feels wrong, we're leaving." "Fair enough." He pulled out his phone again. "Give me your address. I'll send a car for you both. 6 p.m. We can take a cab." "Naomi." His voice was firm but not unkind. "One of the first things you need to learn is that when you're connected to me, nothing is as simple as taking a cab. There are protocols. Security measures. People who need to know where you are at all times to keep you safe." The reality of what she was agreeing to hit her. This wasn't just about letting Jihun be a father. This was about entering his world. A world of danger and violence and rules she didn't understand. "This is a lot," she whispered. Jihun stepped closer, and she could smell his cologne, feel the heat radiating from him. "I know. And I'm sorry. I wish I could give you a normal life. But I can't. This is who I am. What I am. The only thing I can promise is that I will protect you and our son with everything I have. No one will touch either of you while I'm breathing." Before she could respond, he leaned down and pressed a kiss to Kai's forehead. Then, so quickly she almost thought she imagined it, his lips brushed her temple. "Tomorrow," he said. 6 p.m. Don't be late." Then he was walking away, his security falling into step around him, leaving Naomi standing in the park with their son in her arms and her entire world turned upside down. That night, as she put Kai to bed, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. She opened it to find a photo of Mina, sitting at a piano, her small hands on the keys. The next message read, "She's been asking about the nice teacher. I told her she'd see you soon." She smiled for the first time in weeks. "Thank you, Jay." Naomi stared at the message for a long time, then down at her sleeping son. What was she doing? Was she making the right choice? Or was she about to drag Kai into something they'd never escape? But then she thought about Mina's sad eyes and Jihun's raw honesty, and the way he looked at Kai like he was seeing a miracle. Maybe this was insane. But maybe, just maybe, it was exactly what all of them needed. The car that arrived at 5:45 the next evening was not what Naomi expected. She'd imagined something flashy, ostentatious. Instead, it was a sleek black SUV with tinted windows and a professional driver who introduced himself simply as Mr. Park. "For the baby," Mr. Park said, gesturing to a top-of-the-line car seat already installed in the back. It was the exact model Naomi had looked at online but couldn't afford. The drive through Seoul took 30 minutes, weaving through streets until they reached an area Naomi had only seen in magazines. Hanamdong, where Korea's wealthiest lived. The SUV pulled up to a gate that looked like it belonged to a fortress. Security cameras everywhere. Armed guards who checked the vehicle thoroughly before waving them through. The house, no mansion, sat on what must have been an entire city block. Modern architecture, all glass and steel and clean lines, surrounded by manicured gardens and more security than Naomi had ever seen outside of movies. "This is where you live?" she asked Kai, who was babbling excitedly and pointing at everything. Mr. Park opened her door. "Mr. Kwan is waiting inside." The front entrance was intimidating, massive doors that opened into a foyer with ceilings so high they seemed to touch the sky. But what caught Naomi's attention was the little girl standing next to Ji-hun, holding his hand with a grip that suggested she never wanted to let go. Mina. The moment Mina saw Naomi, her serious little face transformed. "Ms. Williams." She let go of Ji-hun's hand and ran forward, then stopped abruptly, as if remembering she wasn't supposed to show excitement. Naomi knelt down, still holding Kai on her hip. "Hi, Mina. It's so good to see you outside of school. Daddy said you were coming for dinner. Is this your baby?" "This is Kai. He's 1 year old. Can you say hi?" Mina stepped closer, peering at Kai with intense curiosity. "Hi, Kai. I'm Mina. I'm 5, so I'm older than you." Kai reached out and grabbed Mina's finger, making her giggle, the first time Naomi had ever heard the sound from her student. Ji-hun watched the interaction with an expression Naomi couldn't quite read. When he finally looked at her, something warm flickered in his dark eyes. "You came. I said I would. Come. Dinner's almost ready." He led them through the house, and Naomi tried not to gape at the artwork on the walls, the expensive furniture, the sheer space of it all. They ended up in a more intimate dining room, still luxurious, but somehow cozy, with a table set for 4 and a high chair waiting beside one of the seats. "You have a high chair," Naomi said, surprised. "I had it delivered this morning. And toys. And everything else the internet said a 1-year-old needs." Ji-hun looked almost embarrassed. "I may have overordered." Despite everything, Naomi smiled. "May have?" Dinner was surprisingly normal. A woman introduced as Mrs. Choi, the housekeeper, brought out food, a mix of Korean dishes and American comfort food, clearly chosen with a non-Korean guest in mind. Mina sat next to Kai's high chair, carefully showing him her napkin and cup, taking her role as the older sibling very seriously. "Kai needs to learn proper table manners," Mina declared solemnly. "Daddy says manners are very important." "Daddy's right," Naomi said, catching Ji-hun's eye. He looked pleased, but tried to hide it. "Can I teach him Korean?" Mina asked. "He should know both languages." "That's what Daddy says about me." "Your English is perfect," Naomi observed. "Mommy was American," Mina said matter-of-factly. "She taught me before she died. Now I only speak Korean at home because Daddy says I need to remember where I come from." Ji-hun's expression tightened, and Naomi suddenly understood. He was keeping his daughter connected to her mother through language. It wasn't about control, it was about grief. After dinner, Mina took Kai to what she called the play area, a room filled with more toys than Naomi had ever seen in her life. They sat on the floor, Mina building block towers for Kai to knock down, both of them laughing. Ji-hun and Naomi stood in the doorway, watching. "She's different with him," Ji-hun said quietly. "Lighter. Children need other children. They need to play and laugh and just be kids. I've tried playdates. Other parents from her school. But Mina never connects with anyone. That's because she can feel the weight you carry," Naomi said gently. "Children are intuitive. She knows your world is dangerous, even if she doesn't understand it. So she doesn't let anyone in, because she's learned that people leave or people hurt you." Ji-hun was silent for a long moment. "Her mother didn't just die in an accident. She was killed. A message to me from a rival family." Naomi's blood ran cold. "Oh God. Mina doesn't know the truth. She thinks it was just bad luck. But I know better. And yes, it's made me paranoid. Overprotective. But can you blame me? I lost the woman I loved because of what I do. I won't lose my daughter too. Is that why you're so insistent about protecting Kai? Because you couldn't protect her." He turned to look at her, and the pain in his eyes was raw. "Yes. And because now that I know he exists, the same people who killed Mina's mother would see him as leverage. A weakness to exploit. I can't let that happen. So what do we do? Hide forever? Live in this fortress? We adapt. We're careful. And we present a united front. Jaehoon moved closer, his voice dropping. The DNA results came back this afternoon. Not that I needed them, but now it's official. Kai is mine. Which means, in my world, you and I need to figure out what we are to each other. We're co-parents. It's not that simple. If people know I have a son, they'll want to know about his mother. About our relationship. Are you a mistress? An ex-wife? A one-night stand I couldn't forget. Naomi felt heat rise to her cheeks. And what would you tell them? Jaehoon reached out, tucking a strand of her hair behind her ear. The gesture was intimate, familiar, and it sent shivers down her spine. I'd tell them the truth. That I met you in LA and spent one night memorizing every sound you made. That I've thought about you more than I should. That finding you here, with my son, feels like fate giving me a second chance I don't deserve. Jaehoon. I'm not asking you to love me, Naomi. I know I don't deserve that. But I am asking you to let me take care of you both. Let me give Kai everything he needs. Let me give you a life where you don't have to worry about money or safety or any of it. I don't need you to take care of me. I've been doing fine on my own. Have you? His voice was gentle but challenging. You're living in a one-bedroom apartment, working full-time while raising a baby alone in a foreign country. You're exhausted. I can see it in your eyes. She wanted to argue, but he was right. She was exhausted. The constant juggling of work and childcare, the financial stress, the loneliness of being so far from everything she'd known, it wore on her. What exactly are you proposing? She asked carefully. Move in here. You and Kai. There's more than enough space. Mina clearly adores him already. You'd have help with childcare, security, anything you need. And you could keep teaching if you want, or not. Your choice. That's insane. We barely know each other. We made a child together. That's pretty significant. That's biology, not a relationship. Jaehoon smiled, and it transformed his face. Then let's build a relationship. For them, if not for us. Kai and Mina deserve to grow up together. As siblings. As family. From the playroom, Mina's laughter rang out, followed by Kai's delighted squealing. Naomi looked at them, her son and his half-sister, playing like they'd known each other forever. I need time to think, she said. Take all the time you need. But while you're thinking, consider this. Jaehoon stepped even closer, close enough that she could feel the heat of him. That night in LA wasn't just a mistake for me. It was the best night I'd had in years. And seeing you now, with my son, teaching my daughter how to smile again, I don't think this is coincidence. I think this is something bigger. You don't believe in fate. I didn't. Until now. Before she could respond, Mina came running over. Ms. Williams, can Kai stay here tonight? We can have a sleepover. I'll share my toys and everything. Naomi smiled despite the chaos in her head. Not tonight, sweetie. Kai needs to sleep in his own bed. Mina's face fell. When can I see him again? Jaehoon knelt down to his daughter's level. How about this weekend? If Ms. Williams agrees, maybe they can come back and spend the day with us. Mina's eyes lit up. Really? Can we, Ms. Williams? Please. Looking at that hopeful little face, Naomi couldn't say no. This weekend. Saturday. The joy on Mina's face was worth every complicated feeling churning in Naomi's chest. The drive home was quiet, Kai already asleep in his car seat. When they arrived at her modest apartment building, Mr. Park came around to help with the car seat, but Jaehoon had already gotten out of the front passenger seat. You came too? Naomi asked, surprised. I wanted to make sure you got home safely. He carried the car seat and their sleeping son up the 3 flights of stairs to her apartment. When she unlocked the door, he followed her inside, his security waiting in the hallway. Her apartment suddenly felt impossibly small. 1 bedroom, a tiny kitchen, a living room barely big enough for a couch and Kai's playpen. Compared to Jaehoon's mansion, it was practically a closet. It's not much, she said defensively. It's home, Jaehoon said simply. He carefully transferred Kai to his crib, moving with surprising gentleness for such a dangerous man. He stood there for a moment, watching their son sleep, his expression unguarded in a way Naomi had never seen. When he finally turned back to her, They were standing in her tiny living room, close enough to touch. The air felt charged, heavy with everything unsaid. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For tonight. For letting me be part of his life. He deserves to know his father. And you? What do you deserve?" The question hung between them. Naomi didn't have an answer. A year ago, she thought she deserved a perfect wedding and a respectable life. Now she didn't know what she deserved. Maybe just peace. Maybe just happiness for her son. "I should go," Jihyun said, but he didn't move. Neither did she. That night, she whispered. "In LA. I've thought about it too. More than I should." Something flashed in his eyes. Hunger. Want. The same intensity she remembered from that hotel room. "Naomi. But this is different now. We have children. Responsibilities. We can't just." He closed the distance between them, cupping her face in his hands. "Can't what? Feel something? Want something?" "Naomi, I've spent 13 months trying to forget you. It didn't work. And now you're here, in my city, with my son, looking at me like you're feeling the same thing I am. This is a bad idea," she breathed, even as she leaned into his touch. "Probably the worst." His thumb traced her bottom lip. "Tell me to leave." She should. She absolutely should. But instead, she whispered, "Stay. If you're invested in Naomi and Jihyun's story, smash that like button and drop a comment telling me if you think they're moving too fast." The kiss was inevitable. His lips met hers with a hunger that had been building for 13 months, and Naomi melted into him. All the logic, all the reasons why this was complicated and messy and potentially dangerous, none of it mattered when his hands tangled in her hair and pulled her closer. She remembered this. The way he kissed like he was claiming her. The way his touch made her forget everything except the feeling of his body against hers. Her hands found his chest, feeling his heart pounding as hard as hers. Jihyun broke the kiss first, resting his forehead against hers, both of them breathing hard. "We should stop." "We should," she agreed, but neither of them moved. "I don't want to rush you. This isn't just about us anymore." "I know." She pulled back slightly, trying to clear her head. "This is crazy. A week ago, I didn't even know you were in Seoul. Now you're kissing me in my apartment while our son sleeps in the next room. Our children," he corrected gently. "Mina's part of this too." The reminder was sobering. This wasn't just about them or even about Kai. There was a 5-year-old girl who'd already lost her mother and desperately needed stability. "You're right," Naomi said, putting more distance between them. "We need to think about them. Be smart about this." Jihyun adjusted his tie, the same one Kai had nearly strangled him with earlier, and nodded. "Smart. Right." He looked at her with those dark eyes that seemed to see right through her. "But for the record, I want this. I want you. I wanted you in LA, and I want you now. Maybe even more because now I know what an incredible mother you are. How strong you are. Jihyun. But I'll wait. Because you're right. Our children come first." He moved toward the door, then paused. "Saturday. I'll send a car at 10 a.m. Dress casually. I want to take all of you somewhere." "Where?" "It's a surprise. Trust me?" That was the question, wasn't it? Could she trust him? This man who lived in shadows and danger, who'd admitted his world had already cost him the woman he loved. But when she looked at him standing in her doorway, she saw something beyond the dangerous Mafia king. She saw a father who'd looked at his son with wonder. A man who'd admitted his failures with his daughter. Someone trying to do better. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll trust you." The smile he gave her was devastating. "Thank you. Sleep well, Naomi." After he left, she stood in her quiet apartment for a long time, her fingers touching her lips where his had been. What was she doing? What was she getting herself into? But deep down, she already knew. She was falling. Fast and hard and probably foolishly. Just like she had in LA. Saturday morning came with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Naomi dressed Kai in comfortable clothes and chose jeans and a simple blouse for herself. When the car arrived, a different vehicle this time, more casual, Mr. Park was driving again, but this time Jihyun sat in the back. "Good morning," he said, and there was a warmth in his voice that made her stomach flip. "Morning. Where's Mina?" At home with Mrs. Choi. I thought maybe we could do this first. Just the three of us. Then pick her up after. Do what exactly? Ji-hoon's smile was mysterious. You'll see. The drive took them out of the city into the mountains surrounding Seoul. Naomi watched the scenery change from urban sprawl to dense forests and winding roads. After about an hour, they pulled up to what looked like a traditional Korean hanok, a beautiful house with curved tile roofing, surrounded by gardens. This is my retreat, Ji-hoon explained as he helped her out of the car, then carefully lifted Kai. When things get too complicated in the city, I come here. Very few people know about it. It's safe. Private. The house was stunning. Traditional on the outside, modern comfort on the inside. Large windows overlooked a stream and forest. The air smelled like pine and fresh water. It's beautiful, Naomi breathed. I wanted you to see it. To know that not everything in my life is dark and dangerous. That there are places where we could just be. As a family. There was that word again. Family. It should have scared her, but instead, it made something warm bloom in her chest. They spent the morning exploring. Ji-hoon showed her the gardens, the koi pond where Kai became fascinated with the fish. They had lunch on the terrace, simple food that Mrs. Choi had packed, and watched their son toddle around on chubby legs, exploring everything. Tell me about Mina's mother, Naomi said during a quiet moment. If you want to. I know it's painful, but I feel like I should know. Ji-hoon was quiet for a long time, watching Kai play. Her name was Jennifer. She was American, working in Seoul for a non-profit. We met at a charity event. She was trying to get funding for her organization, and I was there because appearances matter in my business. He smiled sadly. She called me out on my bullshit within 5 minutes of meeting me. Said she could tell I didn't care about charity, I just wanted the tax write-off. Was she right? Completely. But instead of being offended, I was intrigued. She was fearless. She saw who I was, what I was, and didn't care. She wanted to reform me, save me from myself. His voice cracked slightly. I married her thinking I could keep her separate from my world. That I could be one person with her and another person in business. It was naive. What happened? She got pregnant with Mina. And that's when things got complicated. Some of my rivals saw her as a weakness. They were right. I loved her so much it made me vulnerable. I tried to protect her, but I was also stubborn. Arrogant. I refused to step back from certain deals, certain territories. I thought my reputation alone would keep her safe. He paused, his jaw tight. Mina was 3 when they came for Jennifer. Car bomb. It was meant to send a message that even my family wasn't untouchable. Jennifer died instantly. Mina was home with a nanny. She doesn't remember her mother's last mourning, which is probably a mercy. Naomi's heart broke for him, for Mina, for the woman who'd tried to love a dangerous man. I'm so sorry. I killed the people responsible. All of them. It didn't bring her back, but it sent a message of my own. Touch my family, and there's no place you can hide. He looked at her intently. That's why I'm so intense about protecting you and Kai. I won't make the same mistake twice. I won't lose anyone else. But Ji-hoon, you can't control everything. You can't guarantee our safety 100%. No. But I can make the cost of hurting you so high that no one would dare try. He reached for her hand. I know this is a lot. I know asking you to be part of this life is asking you to accept danger you never signed up for. If you want to walk away, I'll understand. I'll still support Kai, still be his father, but from a distance. I won't force you into my world. Naomi looked at their joined hands, then at Kai, who'd found a stick and was waving it around like a sword. A month ago, if someone had told me I'd be sitting in a mountain retreat with a Korean Mafia boss, discussing whether to move into his mansion with our secret love child, I would have thought they were insane. And now? Now I think maybe I'm the one who's insane. Because I'm actually considering it. She met his eyes. But I need honesty. Complete honesty. No more secrets. If we're going to do this, build something real, I need to know what I'm walking into. Ask me anything. Have you killed people? Yes. His bluntness was jarring, but she appreciated it. Recently? Not in the past 3 years. After Jennifer died, I restructured my operations. Less violence, more legitimate business. I still have enemies, and I still have to make hard choices sometimes, but I'm not the same man I was when I met her. Why the change? Because Mina was watching. Growing up. And I realized that if I kept going the way I was, I'd either end up dead or in prison, and she'd be alone. So I've been slowly shifting everything. In 5 years, maybe 10, the Kwan family businesses will be mostly clean. But getting there requires navigating existing relationships, old alliances. It's complicated. Naomi processed this. What about enemies? Active threats. Always. That's the reality. But nothing immediate. Nothing specific to you or Kai. Yet, once people know about you, that changes. So staying hidden isn't really an option, not long term. Eventually, someone will connect the dots. Better to control the narrative than have it discovered. And what would that narrative be? Jihyun squeezed her hand. That depends on you. What do you want us to be? It was the million-dollar question. What did she want? A week ago, she wanted stability and simplicity. Now, she wanted this complicated, dangerous man who looked at their son like he was the sun and moon. Who kissed her like she was precious. Who was honest about his darkness instead of hiding it. I don't know yet, she admitted. But I want to find out. Slowly. Carefully. I can do slow and careful. Can you? Because that kiss in my apartment didn't feel very careful. His smile was wicked. That was me being careful. If I wasn't being careful, I would have. Don't, she interrupted, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. Don't finish that sentence with our son 10 feet away. Jihyun laughed, a real, genuine laugh that transformed his entire face. Kai looked up at the sound, grinning, and toddled over. Jihyun scooped him up, tossing him gently in the air. Kai shrieked with delight. Watching them together, Naomi felt something settle in her chest. This was right. Complicated and scary and potentially dangerous, but right. Okay, she said. Okay, what? We'll move in. Trial basis. 1 month. If it's not working, if Kai seems unhappy or I can't handle it, we reassess. Jihyun stopped mid-toss, Kai hanging in the air. You're serious? 1 month. And we take things slow. No rushing into anything beyond co-parenting. Define slow. We get to know each other. Build trust. Figure out if what we're feeling is real or just chemistry and circumstances. Jihyun brought Kai down, holding him against his chest with one arm, and used his free hand to cup Naomi's face. It's real. But I'll prove it to you. However long it takes. Then he kissed her again, soft and sweet, with their son between them. It felt like a promise. Like the beginning of something that could either be wonderful or disastrous. Probably both. They picked up Mina on the way back to Seoul. The little girl's face lit up when she saw them, and her excitement about Kai coming to live with them was contagious. We can play every day, she exclaimed. And I can teach him Korean and how to use chopsticks and everything. That night, back in her apartment, Naomi started packing. It felt surreal, boxing up her modest life to move into a mansion with a man she barely knew but couldn't stop thinking about. Her phone buzzed. A message from Jihyun. Thank you for taking a chance on us. I won't let you regret it. She hoped he was right. She really, really hoped he was right. Are you team Naomi and Jihyun? Drop a comment and let me know if you think she's making the right choice moving in with him. Moving day came faster than Naomi expected. Jihyun had offered to have his people pack everything, but she'd insisted on doing it herself. It felt important somehow, to be the one choosing what came with her into this new life. Hannah showed up with coffee and judgment. You're seriously doing this? Moving in with a man you've known for what, 2 weeks? I've known him for over a year, Naomi corrected, taping up a box of Kai's toys. You had a one-night stand with him over a year ago. That's not the same as knowing him. He's Kai's father. And before you say it, yes, I know this is fast and possibly crazy. But Hannah, you should see them together. Kai lights up around him. And Mina, this sad little girl who barely smiles, she's different with Kai around. They need each other. And what about you? What do you need? Naomi sat back on her heels, considering. I need to know if this could be something real. If what I felt that night in LA wasn't just a moment, but the beginning of something bigger. I can't figure that out from a distance. Hannah sighed. Just promise me you'll be careful. and that you'll call me if anything feels wrong. I don't care how rich or powerful or attractive he is, if you feel unsafe, you leave. I promise. By noon, everything was packed. The movers Ji-hun sent were efficient and professional, and by 2 p.m., Naomi was standing in her empty apartment, Kai on her hip, feeling the weight of what she was doing. The mansion felt different knowing she'd be living there. Mrs. Choi greeted her warmly and showed her to her room, a suite, really, with a bedroom for her, an attached nursery for Kai, a private bathroom, and a sitting area with a view of the gardens. It was larger than her entire LA apartment had been. Mr. Kwon wanted you to be comfortable, Mrs. Choi explained. If you need anything changed, just let me know. It's perfect, Naomi said, overwhelmed. Thank you. Mina appeared in the doorway, bouncing with excitement. You're here. You're really here. Can Kai play now? Please. Naomi smiled. Let me get him settled first, okay? Then you can play. I'll help. Mina declared, immediately grabbing one of Kai's stuffed animals and arranging it carefully in the nursery. Over the next few hours, Naomi unpacked with Mina's enthusiastic assistance. The little girl chatted constantly, telling stories about the house, about her room down the hall, about the garden where they could play. It was the most Naomi had ever heard her speak. Ji-hun arrived home at 6. Apparently he'd taken the afternoon off, which Mrs. Choi said was unheard of. He found them in the playroom, Mina and Kai surrounded by blocks, Naomi sitting on the floor with them. This is what I want to come home to every day, he said from the doorway, his voice soft. Naomi looked up, her heart doing that annoying flutter thing it did whenever she saw him. Good day. Better now. He loosened his tie and joined them on the floor, somehow making a $10,000 suit work while sitting cross-legged with children's toys. How was the move? Surprisingly easy. Your people are very efficient. They're paid to be. He watched as Kai knocked over the tower Mina had just built, both children dissolving into giggles. I was thinking tomorrow is Sunday. Maybe we could do something as a family? Take the children somewhere fun. Like where? There's a children's museum in Gangnam. Very safe, very controlled environment. We could rent it out for a few hours, let them explore without crowds. Naomi raised an eyebrow. Rent out an entire museum? I told you security matters. Public places are complicated. Right. Because you're she glanced at Mina and changed what she was going to say. Because you're important. Ji-hun's lips twitched. Exactly. Because I'm important. That evening, after the children were both asleep, Mina in her room, Kai in his new nursery, Naomi found herself alone with Ji-hun in the living room. He'd poured them both wine, and they sat on opposite ends of an enormous couch, a careful distance between them. Thank you, he said. For being here. For giving this a chance. Thank you for not making it weird, she replied. I was worried it would feel awkward, but it doesn't. It almost feels normal. Almost? She gestured around at the opulent room. Well, normal people don't live in mansions with full-time housekeepers and armed security. Fair point. He took a sip of wine. Tell me something about you. Something I don't know. Like what? Anything. Your childhood. Your dreams. What you wanted to be when you grew up. Naomi considered. I wanted to be a writer. Fiction, specifically. I used to write stories all the time as a kid. Made up these elaborate worlds and characters. What happened? Reality happened. Writing doesn't pay bills. Teaching does. So I got practical. She smiled sadly. My parents were very big on practical. Stable career, respectable marriage, the right kind of life. And look how that worked out. Exactly. I spent my whole life trying to be what they wanted, do what they approved of, and the moment I made one mistake, they abandoned me. Turned out all that perfection didn't matter. Ji-hun was quiet for a moment. Their loss. You're an incredible mother. An excellent teacher. And from what Mina tells me, you make the best chocolate chip cookies she's ever had. Naomi laughed. I made cookies one time for a class party. She's mentioned it at least 20 times. She's never had homemade cookies before. Jennifer wasn't much of a baker, and Mrs. Choi is more traditional Korean cuisine. He set down his wine glass. I want you to know I'm not trying to replace Jennifer. For Mina or for myself? What Jennifer and I had was complicated. I loved her, but we were also very different people who wanted different things. With you, it feels different. Naomi supplied. Yes. Like maybe we could actually work. Like maybe fate put you in my path for a reason. He moved closer, closing the distance between them on the couch. I know we're supposed to be taking this slow, but I need you to know that I'm all in. Whatever this becomes, I'm committed. Jihoon, we barely know each other. So let's change that. Ask me anything. No more secrets, remember. Naomi bit her lip, thinking. Okay, why me? That night in LA, there must have been other women at that bar. Why did you choose me? You looked like you were fighting yourself. Sitting there in that gorgeous dress with that ridiculous engagement ring, looking absolutely miserable. I recognized it because I was doing the same thing, going through the motions of a life that didn't quite fit. He reached out, tucking her hair behind her ear in that gesture that was becoming familiar. And when you looked at me, really looked at me, you didn't see the power or the money or the danger. You just saw a man. It was intoxicating. I saw more than just a man, she admitted. I saw someone who made me feel alive for the first time in months. Someone who looked at me like I was the most fascinating person in the world. You were. You are. His hand moved to cup her face. Naomi, I'm trying to be patient. Trying to do this right. But you make it very difficult when you look at me like that. Like what? Like you want me as much as I want you. Her breath caught. We agreed to take things slow. We did. So tell me to stop, and I will. His thumb traced her bottom lip. Tell me this is too fast, too soon, too complicated. She should. She absolutely should. They'd just moved in together. The children were down the hall. This was exactly the kind of rushing they'd agreed not to do. But when he leaned in, when his lips were inches from hers, all the logic in the world couldn't compete with the way her entire body responded to him. We're terrible at slow, she whispered. The worst, he agreed, and then he was kissing her, deep and hungry and full of 13 months of wanting. She melted into him, her hands finding his hair, his chest, pulling him closer. This time, there was no interruption. No reason to stop. Just the two of them, finally giving in to what had been building since that night in LA. He pulled her into his lap, his hands on her waist, and she could feel his heart pounding as hard as hers. When he broke the kiss to trail his lips down her neck, she gasped. She started. Should what? His voice was rough against her skin. Go somewhere more private. The children. He stood, lifting her with him like she weighed nothing. My room is on the other side of the house. Soundproof. Very, very private. She should protest. Should insist they talk more, wait more, think about this more. But when he carried her down the hall, when he kicked his bedroom door closed behind them, when he laid her on his bed and looked at her like she was everything, she couldn't find a single reason to stop. Last chance, he murmured, hovering over her. Tell me to go, and I will. Instead, she pulled him down to her. Stay. What happened next was everything that night in LA had been and more. Slower in some ways, more intense in others. He took his time learning her all over again, and she discovered new things about him, the scar on his shoulder, the tattoo over his heart, the way he whispered her name like a prayer. When it was over, they lay tangled together in his enormous bed, both breathing hard, the city lights of Seoul glittering through the windows. So much for slow, Naomi said eventually. Jihoon laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest where her head rested. We'll start being slow tomorrow. That's what we said last time. Then maybe slow isn't meant for us. Maybe we're the type of people who burn fast and bright. That sounds dangerous. Everything about us is dangerous. But I'm willing to risk it if you are. He turned to face her, his expression serious now. I'm falling for you, Naomi. Fast. Maybe I've been falling since LA and just didn't want to admit it. But now that I have you here, now that I've seen you with our son and my daughter, now that I know what this could be, I can't pretend it's just about the kids or just about attraction. It's more. Her heart raced. This was too much too fast. They should slow down, be rational, protect themselves. But looking into his eyes, feeling the warmth of his body against hers, she couldn't deny what she felt. I'm falling too, she whispered. And it terrifies me. Good. We'll be terrified together. He kissed her forehead. Stay here tonight. Sleep next to me. Let me wake up with you in my arms. What about Kai? He might wake up. The baby monitor is already connected to my phone. If he makes a sound, I'll hear it. Mrs. Choi is a light sleeper too. And your room is close enough that you can be there in 30 seconds if needed. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. When was the last time she'd slept next to someone? When was the last time she'd felt this safe, this wanted? Okay, she agreed. But just sleeping. Jihoon's smile was knowing. Just sleeping. For now. They didn't just sleep. But eventually, wrapped in his arms, listening to his heartbeat, Naomi drifted off feeling more content than she had in over a year. Tomorrow would bring complications. Questions. The reality of building a life with a dangerous man. But tonight, in the darkness of his room, it was just them. Just this. And it was enough. So there you have it, Naomi and Jihoon's story of forbidden love, second chances, and family against all odds. If this story kept you hooked until the very end, do me a favor and hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me what you thought. Would you take the risk like Naomi did? And subscribe because I have more incredible stories coming your way. This is just the beginning for Naomi, Jihoon, Kai, and Mina. Sometimes the most beautiful love stories are the most complicated ones. Sometimes taking a chance on someone dangerous is exactly what leads you home. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.